The MMA fortune teller.
The teller, the teller, the teller, the teller, the teller, the teller.
What's up, you guys? We got a couple of new added bouts to UFC Vegas 28. So I do want to get these predictions out to you. We got four newly added bouts since the last time I put out the full prediction video to you guys. A couple of fighters just got new opponents. There was actually a fight that was just thrown on the card as well, just a brand new bout. So I want to get into all that here. I will say this, just to give you guys a brief synopsis of this little breakdown video. These newly added opponents, I've been quite impressed from what I've seen from these guys and girls. Some of them were a little bit, new to me as far as breaking on tape in them. Some of them I was very well familiar with, like Gregory, Rodrigues, a guy we've seen fight on Dana White's Contender Series, and a guy that's still been doing his thing even since that fight. So some of these fighters I was already familiar with, and some of these fighters like Tabatha, Richie, who you see here, I'm getting acquainted with, and I've been quite impressed from what I've seen from her. So that will lead us into the first breakdown, which will be Manon, Faroot, and Tabatha, Richie. Before I get into this fight, though, real quick, for those of you guys that are watching Tough 29, if you guys haven't seen, I will be doing a recap of each episode the day following. So that will be on Wednesdays. If you guys are into the Ultimate Fighter, make sure you guys check out those recap videos. We'll also take a look into the following episode, the preview of that next week's matchup. Of course, each episode always gives you a sneak peek. They pick that fight at the end of each episode, so we'll take a sneak peek into that fight as well. So if you guys are into that, please check out those videos as well. And with no further ado, let's get right into this breakdown video. So, like I said, we got this new fighter, Tabatha Richie, who is undefeated. She's 5-0 as a professional. And she also has a couple other victories on her resume. They weren't technically considered professional victories there. That's why you don't really see them as far as, it goes on her record. But she had some type of special bouts. I believe they were over in Japan. I believe that she actually has, quite the experience fighting over in Japan. And you know how they do it over there. They do some funky stuff. So you see all this over here, these custom rules bouts. She's had a few of those. So, I guess that's kind of a good thing. That's just, more experience fighting in front of a crowd and whatnot. She has an impressive resume. And, when I break down film on her, like I said, I was quite impressed from what I saw from her. She's a grapple-heavy fighter. In the fights I saw, she likes to go, across the cage or across the ring, and she likes to close the distance and try to get her fighter down to the mat. She likes to work the ground and pound. She's very technically sound. I like the way that she was controlling her fighters against the cage, working inside trips and all that. And the ground and pound was pretty serious, too. We've seen her stop some fighters there. We take a look at this fight over that took place over in LFA, so which is good to see that she's fighting over here in the States. She takes out Shauna Armsby. I wasn't that impressed with Shauna as far as her technical abilities were, but she had a big heart in that fight. If you watch that fight, it's on YouTube. She was in there the whole way until they had to stop the fight. But she was caught in an armbar. She fought out of it. So I did like the heart on her opponent, and it did show that Tabatha, even if the fighter she's fighting is resilient, she's still going to be going in for the kill all the way deep into the fight. So this girl Tabatha, like I said, I like what I see from her. The only problem here is she's fighting Manon Faroot, who is going to be the much naturally bigger opponent. Manon's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage. She's going to have a 6-inch height advantage. She's a natural flyweight fighter, where Tabatha Richie is a natural strawweight fighter. So I do think that might be a little bit of an issue. I like Tabatha striking. She's very relentless. She's very tough. I wouldn't say she's as technical as Manon is. Manon is more polished on the feet, in my opinion. I'm interested to see how the ground games exchanges go. Maybe Tabatha gets Manon down there and maybe can exploit some of her grappling abilities. But I just have a tough time seeing that being the case. Just for the fact that Tabatha is going to be undersized. She's taking this fight on short notice. She has some things going against her. But again, I believe she's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And she's a girl that like I'll say it again, she's impressive. She is impressive. And I think even if she loses this fight, she's going to have other opportunities to come. And maybe it'll be at her natural weight division. where she can actually be a serious contender in the division, possibly. Time will tell. We take a look at the live line. Manon is going to be a pretty big favorite here. Manon is going to be, you guys can also see that below here as well, but we got Manon right now at minus 465. That's pretty crazy if you ask me. I really wouldn't want nothing to do with that, just based on the fact that Tabatha Ricci is a very capable opponent in there. She's very skilled. So, and you have that grappling X factor too, which is always dangerous with women's mixed martial arts. If all of a sudden Faroot gets exposed, maybe somehow with their takedown defense and whatnot, Richie's a girl that will be able to expose you there if you have that weakness. So, but at the end of the day, I do got Manon Faroot. This is a girl, you heard my breakdown when I was talking about the fight against Marion. Excuse me, her name's slipping my mind right now, but the Ukrainian fighter who the fight, Marion, what the heck? Now it's going to get me annoyed. Marion Moroz, excuse me. But you guys, you heard what I had to say about that fight going into it. I liked Faroot there too, even though Marina Moroz, I don't know why her name was slipping my mind. Sorry about that. But Marina Moroz is a girl that I do feel still has some good potential, and I was still on Faroot there. I'm definitely going to take Faroot here. But be careful with the line, and if some of you guys are crazy dog hunters, you're looking to take the dog out for a walk, maybe you want to take a shot on Tabatha Ricci. It's a pretty crazy line there. But just be wary with the size disadvantage and how promising Manon Faroot looks as well. All right, so we also got Francisco Trinaldo taking on Muslim Salikov. Fight is taking place in the welterweight division. This was a newly added bout. Francisco Trinaldo, 42, about to be 43 years old. Massaranduba, the Brazilian Redwood. This guy does not age. I think that he might have a better career at this point in time at trying to market himself and selling some type of lotion or product that maybe he could lie and say that he's been taking for years, and that helped him age the way that he does. But this guy, he always comes in good shape. He hangs around. He's in a lot of closely contested matchups, even the fights that he's lost. You take a look. I've seen him get robbed before in there in some fights. You take a look at the Alexander Hernandez fight. He should have clearly won that fight. Wasn't the most exciting. But, if he wins that fight right now, you're talking about a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fight win streak. The Jai Herbert fight was an exciting one. He was an underdog in that fight. I made some money on that fight. And a lot of people were high on Herbert. I believe he was the fighter coming out of UK, kind of a prospect. A lot of people were high on him in his striking. And Massa Randuba hung in that fight, man, made it an exciting one, and eventually got the stoppage there in the third round. John McDessie, Bobby Green, close fights. The Evan Dunham fight was a good victory for him there, got the finish. You take a look at his losses, Kevin Lee, James Vick, back in that day, those were formidable opponents. And other than that, a string of victories here against Paul Felder, Yancy Medeiros, Chad Lepre, Ross Pearson, a lot of old school names in a way, guys that used to be a little bit more respected. And then again, look at the losses, Michael Chiesa. Gleason Tebow. Just my point is don't sleep on Massaranduba. This is a guy he's well-rounded. He, for the most part these days, he likes to keep the fight standing from what I see. He likes to stuff the takedowns, and he likes to engage in a slugfest. He's a tricky southpaw. He's got that overhand left that could sneak up on you. And now he's taking on Muslim Salikov, the king of Kung Fu, who's been putting it together now 4 fights in a row. Took out Ricky Rainey, Nordine Taleb, Lorena Staropoli, who's also fighting on this card, and then Zaleski Dos Santos. That was a split decision victory from there. That was a close fight, if you guys remember that one. Muslim Salikov, pretty talented striker, man. They call him the king of Kung Fu, but, he really has a kickboxing background, really. Just to simplify that, he's a kickboxer. A notable fight of his was that Nordine Taleb fight. Really laid the leather on him there, got the finish. That's really where I put him on my radar. Of course, I was well familiar with him, but when he had that victory, I was like, all right, we'll keep an eye on him and his abilities and whatnot. He's 36 years old at this point. He's a decently well-rounded fighter as well. And in this fight, they're pretty much going to be right around the same size. Trinaldo's going to have a 1/2 inch reach advantage, 2-inch height disadvantage. I think that this fight is most likely going to play out closely on the feet. But between both these guys, it has all the makings of that, unless it ends up turning into a crazy brawl and we see some crazy stuff happen here, maybe a knockout or something like that. I like Muslim Salikov. I think this fight will play out closely. but I like Salikov overall. He's very, very comfortable on his feet, and he has some dynamite in his hands. He's got the youth going for himself. So those are some of the factors that kind of make me lean that way. Take a look at the live line right now. And Muslim Salikov is right around a minus 250. So I was expecting that line to be a little bit lower, to be quite honest. Maybe more around 220, 210, but 250. And yes, I do like Salikov to win that fight. All right, we got Makwan Amirkhani taking on Kamuela Kirk. Kamuela Kirk, you guys probably remember him back from his Dana White Contender Series fight where he took on tough dude fighting out of Tampa, Billy Q, right? Billy Quarantilla, was it? Yeah, Billy Q. Yep, he lost to Billy Q. That was almost 2 years ago till date. Lost his next fight against Bruna Souza, and then he bounces back with 2 victories. Looked pretty good in his last fight against Daniel Swain. Daniel Swain is a guy we also saw fight on the Dana White's Contender Series show. And Kamuela looked really good in that fight. You know, when you break down tape on Kamuela, he's very well-rounded, man. He's one of those guys. Just picture one of those guys, you know, a pretty solid athlete, you know, pretty orthodox with everything he does in there, but he has that nice pop on his punches. You know, if it goes down to the mat, he can land some nasty ground and pound. He's technical on the feet, just that basic that basic technical style, if you guys catch my drift. You know, he's just in position. He's a decent wrestler. I think he's a decently well-rounded fighter. Taking on Makwan Amirkhani, who's a little bit more flashy and a little bit more wild in there. He can pull off some nasty submissions. He can threaten you in all types of ways. You don't know if a flying knee's coming. You don't know what's coming from this guy at times. I like Mr. Finland. I think Mr. Finland's a very solid fighter. He's 32 years old right now, pretty much in the peak of his career. Taking on a guy that's 27, maybe still has some room to grow. Starting to put things together is Kirk. I want to pull up the line here for you guys. Americane right now, right around a minus 220. So you see money coming in on Kirk, and I think that's very reasonable because the opening line of plus 225 was way too high in my opinion. I think there might have been some value there if you liked Kirk. Like I said, this guy's been putting it together in his last 2 fights, and he looked really, really good in that Swain fight. And I don't see any reason why this fight just can't play out to be just a crazy fight where it could possibly be anybody's day in there. Kirk's going to be in there throwing some heavy hands. He has the wrestling, he has the grappling abilities, the ground and pound. Amirkhani, sometimes he gets a little wild and he opens himself up as well. That being said, I still got to take Amirkhani to win this fight. I like his attitude in there. I like his resiliency. I like the energy he brings. He's not scared to take a shot. If you hurt him, he's coming right back in your face. You remember that fight against Edson Barbosa, man. He really hung in there tough. Was finished by Shane Burgos. Bounced back with an anaconda choke over Danny Henry. And that's another thing, too. Keep an eye on Makwan's submission skills. He can pull off some wild submissions, like I said. He can stop the fight from a variety of ways. And this is a guy that's just a little bit more comfortable in there, in my opinion. He's fought in the UFC already a good amount of times. And he's just a guy that doesn't really buckle under pressure. He's just in there hanging out. I want to pull up one fight from him real quick as we look at his resume. Because I love pulling this picture up too, right? How about Mr. Finland? Whew. He's got a bunch of Alexander Gustafsson's wives all around him. If you know what I'm saying, all the blondes there. Got some martinis, got some chips. Living the life right there. But remember this fight here, the Andy Ogle fight? That was his UFC debut. Really made a name for himself there through that flying knee. There was no hesitancy in there in his UFC debut. This guy is so relaxed, and he's going out there to finish you. Losses against Arnold Allen, Shane Burgos, Edson Barbosa. Those guys are good fighters. So yeah, I got to take Amirkhani here. I think that he gets the job done. And he's an entertaining guy too, man. I hope he gets the victory and we get to hear him chirp a little bit in the post-fight speech, and maybe he starts to work his way back up to a big fight, like we've seen him have some recently against Barbosa and whatnot. I want to see him get back to the top a little bit. I like the guy. That is going to bring us to the last newly added bout to this fight card. Duško Todorović taking on Gregory Rodrigues. Duško was initially supposed to be fighting Maki Pitolo. Maki had to pull out. Duško is a guy, or Duško. A lot of people were high on this guy, since his debut on Dana White's Contender Series as well. But, he's coming off a very, very tough loss where his fighting style finally caught up with him. He keeps his hands very low. He likes to bob and weave. And, of course, you play a dangerous game when you do that because it only takes one shot to put you out. Sariano was just really teeing off on him. And even when Sariano, Panalehis Sariano, another guy from Dana White's Contender Series, man, this whole roster. But, even when he was hitting him hard, Duško showed that he does have a solid chin. He was trying to hang tough in there, but eventually it was just too much. But, you gotta be worried about the way he keeps his hands low. Gregory Rodrigues is a guy that does carry power. We saw that knockout against Al Matavo. That was a nasty knockout there. Sat him down on his butt, put him to sleep there against the cage. So since losing himself against Jordan Williams in a very, very exciting fight on DWCS, where Gregory came out strong, looked good in the beginning of that fight, it turned into a brawl. He got caught by Jordan. Jordan has pop in his hands, and he got caught. But again, Rodrigues bounced back after that loss with 2 knockout victories himself. He has power. He's accurate with his punches. If Duško wants to play that game with his hands low, I can easily see Gregory catching him here, which is why you've seen a lot of money come in on him as he initially opened up at around plus 165. Now he's somewhere in the range of plus 115. So a lot of money's been coming in on him. He's been putting in work with Sanford MMA. You guys know I'm very high on them over there, so his skills are just evolving, and he's only getting better. This guy already held gold over in the LFA organization. He has grappling abilities as well. Don't get it twisted. This guy will go down. He'll take you down. He'll work his jiu-jitsu and his ground and pound. Gregory is a good fighter. I think he's definitely a UFC caliber fighter. He should be hanging around for some time. But I think if Duško can avoid being knocked out, he definitely has. He does bring some things to the table. I like his cage control. I like certain things that he does. He has a little bit of a pitter-patter type style, but it does work for him, and he does win fights like that. But you know what? I'm gonna give this fight to Gregory Rodrigues. He has a 2-inch reach advantage, 2-inch height advantage. He's a little bit of the more physically imposing fighter, and the fact that Duško keeps his hands low, I don't think I could pick him here. I'm very close. I don't know. I'm back and forth on this fight, but the value is definitely more so on Gregory here. I don't know if I could trust Duško for 15 minutes to be able to avoid, a power shot from Gregory and to not be hurt there, even if he's not finished, but even to be hurt and for it just not to look good for the judges' scorecards. I think he could also be able to keep Duško from holding him against the cage. Gregory's strong in the clinch and whatnot as well. So yeah, I'm going to pick Gregory Rodrigues, the RoboCop. I will pick him to win that fight there. So that's an exciting fight, man. Keep an eye on this fight. I'm telling you guys. Both these guys have a lot of potential. So the winner will really get some momentum going. And that's going to wrap up the 4 newly added bouts. I hope this helps you guys out. Please comment below, help your boy out over here. Hit that like button, subscribe. It does help me out in a major way, believe it or not. If you guys are interested in my official plays, reach out to me. All my information's there. Would love to work with you guys. I'll give you some pricing there if you guys are interested in my official plays. I don't know. If not, I hope you guys all enjoy this fight card. You guys know I'll probably be on the Instagram stories, hitting that up too. So catch me on Instagram and follow me on Twitter, the MMA Teller. I'm really stepping up my tweets and all that. I'm trying to get the Twitter game going. So catch me over there as well. Please do, man. Help out and support my social media. And I hope you guys all have an amazing weekend and the rest of your week. I hope it's all good and smooth. You guys take care. Signing out.
The MMA Fortune Teller.
The teller.